Hi, everyone. I I love doing that initial icebreaker because it helps me to get to know who is here and what is interesting to you. And so this is I think, gosh, my third. I think maybe my third webinar with IPA, and I am so happy to be here and to speak to all of you today about this topic that I know firsthand is impacting your schools and your students in your community. And that is student actions online and what they're doing online and how that is impacting your school culture. And as principals, as people who are really in this to help and support students, it is all we are here to talk about positive and proactive strategies to help create a healthier school culture. So thank you so much for joining me today. I'm Andrea Jenkins. I'm the Director of Partner Success for the Social Institute. And I have been with the Social Institute for going on 3 years now. But before that, I was actually in education for 20 years. I was an elementary school principal, a curriculum director, K through eighth grade, and I was also a teacher and advisor. And so, certainly, no stranger to the classroom, no stranger to leading teams of teachers and working with parents and helping to support entire school communities and navigate the challenges that we're all facing. I have worked with I like to consider actually myself to be a pro tech educator, which means that I remember the days and whenever when tech in the classroom meant that there were two computers sitting in the corner. I don't know if you want to give me a thumbs up in the chat if you remember those days. That was considered tech in the classroom. All the way to then there was a technology lab that people got to sign up for and go to and take their classes to maybe a cart that was in the hallway that of laptops that you could share, and then eventually rolling out all the way to one-to-one into tech integration across the school. I've been through each one of those stages. I have seen how technology has impacted schools and teachers and how it has really impacted students. I have also seen it from the perspective of a parent. I have a 19-year-old, and so I definitely remember the time when he came to me and we had just moved to Michigan, and he said, "Mom, I need Snapchat. If you want me to have friends, you're going to let me have Snapchat, right?" And so I remember all of that in his journey through of getting his first car and his license and doing navigating what technology and social media looked like for him as a student, but also for me as a parent as well. And so know today that I'm going to speak to you through the lens of, yes, an educator, yes, an administrator, and also a parent. But also through our work here at the Social Institute, we work with hundreds and hundreds of schools in helping them address challenges that they're facing in their community, especially whenever it comes to student well-being and creating a healthy school culture. So I want to start today by saying everything that you see is co-created with students. Everything we are a students first company, which means that students are our North Star. They drive what we do, they inspire what we do, and we get their feedback and their input on everything from our lesson design to our resources for families to our best practices to utilize in the classroom. So all of this is co-created with students, with students and for students. And so we don't want to be we want to really flip the script on the teachers feeling like they have to lecture at students and talk at them and feel like that Charlie Brown teacher, but instead really about huddling and having a dialogue with students and making this drawing those deep connections and deep relationships with them. So today, in particular, we are going to focus on the topic of cyberbullying. And I'm going to give you, I don't want to call it a refreshing way to look at cyberbullying because it's certainly something that is really a very important and intense topic that's happening in our schools. But another way to kind of flip how we're viewing it and another way to approach it. So we're going to give you some modern strategies that you can use to empower students to do what we call cyberback and to stand up against cyberbullying. And we're going to explore some of the best practices to reduce negative actions by leaning into and amplifying the positive ones. And so I know whenever we think about technology, a lot of it can sometimes be hard to think about how it can be, we can lean into it in a positive way, but that's what we are all about here at the Social Institute. But before we get into that, I want us to take a quick look at some of the latest statistics and things that we know about cyberbullying and what has brought you here today and why so many people are interested in this topic. Yet 34% of 9 to 12-year-olds so that they say that they don't know what to do when they see cyberbullying. They are raising their hands and saying, we need help. We see it and we feel it, and we're not sure what to do when we're caught in that moment. 81% of students say they would be more likely to intervene in instances of cyberbullying if they could do so anonymously. And so students, they're seeing it, but again, even a majority of them are saying, I don't want any repercussions from this. I want to be able to help, but I want to be able to help in a way where it's not going to come back to me, or I don't have to feel vulnerable or have something happen to me as a result. And then 46% of teens say that they have been bullied online. So this is very much an issue. It is something that I know you are dealing with as school administrators, and probably something that is very alive in most of your communities. As some examples of cyberbullying, because I know, I remember whenever I was a principal and we were like, okay, what's bullying and what's unkindness, and really trying to draw some distinctions. And so we've provided you here with just, actually directly from the headlines. You cannot turn on the news without somebody talking about cyberbullying, but these are some of the ones that we have recently caught our attention and the attention of other educators. So that a teen was detained over school threats after a classmate impersonates her on Instagram. So there's a lot of things happening on social media where this unkindness, we hear that they say, their students are treating each other in a way online that they wouldn't necessarily treat each other in person and in school. And so we need help in helping them navigate it, because a lot of times it happens outside of the school day. And then speaking of the school day, a teenager was forced to move schools after being bullied on TikTok. So feeling like, not even going home is not even just the safe space to escape, because it happens, it's part of their 24/7, right? It's not like it's just happening in the building, and then when they leave the building, they have kind of their respite. It's something that really follows them. And so they're having to make big life choices. And then even things like revenge porn and other really, really tough topics, especially as students are getting older, and helping and saying they're facing really serious issues. There was a school district in New Jersey. We just did a lesson on AI and fake nudes and explicit photos, where a student created AI generated photos, explicit photos of classmates, and circulated them. And that there were legal ramifications for that. So certainly something that we know that schools are experiencing. And with that, I want to just get a quick pulse. I know that cyberbullying is probably a big thing in your communities, but if you want to throw in the chat, as Arlen said, we're going to be using the chat quite a bit today. So throw into the chat, set it to everyone. What are some things that you are experiencing in your schools that you need, that you're like, gosh, I'm spending a lot of time on this. Cyberbullying is a big one. We often hear about anxiety, but if you want to throw in the chat what you feel like is really a top of mind for you in your schools, or things that you're seeing impacting your school culture. Okay. Oh, all right. Just starting to roll in. FOMO. Yes, FOMO, fear of missing out. Lower self-esteem and anxiety, yes, and suicidal thoughts. Online drama and anxiety. I have in our work with schools, one of the things that we've come to see is that FOMO and online drama actually is a driver for a lot of these. It's this idea that there's a social world happening without them. It's this fear of missing out, and that students don't know how to connect and don't necessarily have those relationship skills that they need, and they need to develop that mental muscle, that muscle on how to build relationships with their peers. But technology and social media is not just about using apps. It's really about being social. And so one thing that we know is that social media doesn't just mean TikTok and Snapchat and the social platforms as you might think of them. It's everything. It's everything from gaming to FaceTime, group text, even things like Spotify and sharing Spotify playlists and who gets invited to share and collaborate on them. Those are all forms of social media. It's really any way that we are being social, online or off. So any medium that we are using to be social. So with that, I'm going to go ahead. Yes, sexting is a really big one, and one that we see a lot of connections to cyberbullying. And so with that, looking at cyberbullying, I've got some trivia here for you. What percent of US teens ages 13 to 17 have experienced cyberbullying? And this is what was taken from a 2022 Pew Research Center study. All right, if you've got a guess here, it is not 37%. Okay. It is not 20%. It is not 12%. I see it in here. A lot of you with the 46% got it right. 46% of US teens ages 13 to 17 have experienced cyberbullying. And so what are some other examples that real concrete, not just in the headlines that you see of like, oh gosh, they're kind of big news cases, but just things that you could experience and see every day in your schools. It could include things like spreading lies about someone or posting embarrassing photos without consent, sending hurtful and threatening or abusive messages to somebody, what we say, right, and how we're saying it, and impersonating someone via fake accounts. So fake accounts has been really on the rise. It's something that Instagram is actually trying to get a hold of. They just released that they are exploring ways to cut down on finstas by having students or by having users link their accounts together, so that it would help prevent creating fake and impersonation accounts. And so we know that cyberbullying is real, and it is very much a part of students' lives. And students know that that's not all we need to talk about, right? They also see that there's so many negatives to social media, but there's so many positives, almost to that students see them weighted equally. Yes, bullying and spreading rumors is a real issue with social media and tech, but so students see that a top positive effect is connecting with friends and family. It's easier to find news and information and meeting others with the same interests. So yes, while social media and tech can definitely be a way to be divisive in school communities, it actually can be a way to strengthen school communities. And we're going to talk today about some strategies that you can use within your schools to help do that. So we're going to look at how you can help students in a modern day way do what we call cyberback. So what is cyberback? It's one of our 7 social standards here at the Social Institute. And what we've done is we've said, what are all the different topics and ways that students need to talk about their online social worlds. So instead of having rules, which rules are often made to be broken and divisive, and people often don't agree on them, we actually have developed 7 social standards that are designed to be a common and unifying common language across a community. And they range everything from play to your core, which is doing and posting things that represent your values and character, to strike a balance, which is all about balancing our time and attention between technology and the people around us. Handle the pressure. How are you rising above the social pressures that students face every day, which include like not participating in that latest TikTok trend, or the pressure to get the latest app or spend money on something, or how do you use your mic for good, which is all about amplifying your voice to create meaningful change in the world. But today we're going to talk about cyberback. Cyberback is the opposite of cyberbullying. It is about how do we have each other's backs online and off? How can we stand up for others when we see something that that really feels kind of out of bounds and something that feels like we're not playing to our core? So how do we do that? Well, we know that it requires a comprehensive approach. It's not just a one and done, it's National Cyberbullying Awareness Day. Yes, those are important. But it's really about weaving this into the fabric of your school and looking at this in all different areas of where you are addressing these topics with students. So a lot of schools say, we talk about this with our character. We have character development programs, or we have a time when we're really looking at student leadership. And how do the question then is, how are you weaving in cyber backing into those different topics? How are you looking at it in terms of current events, what's going on really in the world, and connecting it that for students, really making it real and not just something that adults are talking about, but that's something that is a real issue. How are you looking at it from a diversity, equity, and inclusion lens? This is a really big one, especially whenever it comes to social media and technology. And so what we do is we say, take all of those great topics, great areas, focus areas that you're already doing within your schools. We're sure that you're doing all of these and looking at utilizing all those focus areas to create a stronger school culture, but then expand out. And we say, look at social media and tech as a common thread that can link all of these together and really address the topics of bullying, including cyberbullying. We also know that it's really important to lean into student voice. And you're going to hear some of that here in just a minute, whenever we're going to walk through one of our modern examples of what cyberback looks like. And then weave in relatable role models. So again, students don't want to just hear the teacher telling them what not to do. That's not what this is about. Really, it's about, what do I do in this moment? What do I do? And so an example of this is students, and this is an example question that we have in one of our lessons. It's like, how do you proactively equip students to cyberback? So this is one from 5th grade, where we say, imagine your friend sends you a link with a YouTube video. You begin watching the video and someone starts using offensive language that makes you feel uncomfortable. What do you do? And so I'm going to have you throw into the chat again. Do you think that their top answer is 1, 2, or 3? You want to throw that into the chat? 1, 2, or 3? Are they going to quickly exit the video and don't reply to the friend? Tell your friend that you're not into videos like that. Tell your parents about the video and let them know how you handled it. Now think about, this is 5th grade. All right. Okay, I see the answers rolling in. Let's take a look here. And it's actually number 3. So the top answer is tell your parents about the video and let them know how you handled it. But what this really tells me is that students want to be equipped. They want to be empowered. They want to handle things on their own. And they want the connections with the adults to be able to talk about this. Now, of course, as students get older, those connections with adults look different as their relationships change. But especially for younger students, it's important that they feel that they have strategies that they can use, and then they have adults that they can go to talk about these topics. So what does this also look like from just a real modern day way of experiencing these topics? Well, I'm going to walk you through what we call our Win It Social lesson. So we have a gamified platform called Win It Social, and that addresses all of those 7 social standards: play to your core, cyberback, strike a balance, handle the pressure, all of those 7 social standards. And we take a grade level and a very intentional approach, but a positive one that is focused on empowering and equipping students. So you're going to get to experience this because this is a really modern and relevant way for students to connect with you and to help build a strong culture within your school community. Let's see. Yes, students are playing. Okay, so I am going to share my screen real quick again. All right, so Win It Social, again, gamified platform, and I am I've chosen a cyberback lesson. This is a 7th grade. I personally absolutely love this lesson, and I invite you to join and play along with me. It's gamified, so we're going to have some fun here. Go to winitsocial.com/join. Winitsocial.com/join. You're going to join as a student. And you're going to put in this game code and we're going to play this game together. Now, this is, again, this is a 7th grade cyberback lesson, and it features pro tips from handling online hate with pro tips from TikTok's biggest stars. And so I can guarantee you the people in the video, the TikTok stars in the video, even if you don't know who they are, I can guarantee you your students do. So I'm waiting. Okay, thank you, music note. I see that you've joined here. Waiting for players to join the lesson. Again, winitsocial.com/join. Enter in the team code. It's going to ask you how you're feeling today. So one of the first things it's going to do is give you a bunch of emojis to choose from. And so when you select the emoji, it's actually feeding into an insights dashboard so that you can see how your students are feeling over a range of dates and by grade level. And so you can get some real insight to how your students are doing. We call that our culture check. And that is based off of Yale's mood meter. I'm going to tell you, a lot of students, they feel meh. It is a top answer. Meh is always a popular choice, but you will really be surprised to see the different emotions that students select. Okay, we've got our class building here. Thank you so much for joining. I'm going to give you just one more minute. Just know that if I move on and you haven't had a chance to join yet, the code will always be on the screen. So you can join at any time and it'll put you right into the lesson. Okay, so we've got some good participants here. All right, so let's go ahead. I'm going to just adjust my volume real quick. Okay. All right, here we go. Let's go ahead and dive on in. Okay, handling online hate with pro tips from major gamers and TikTok
Ever
stars.
heard of the popular Minecraft gamer who always wore a mask? That's Dream. And in 2022, after 3 years, he finally showed everyone his face on YouTube. But a lot of people made mean comments about how he looked, so he took the video down. A year later, Dream talked about how sad the negative comments made him feel. Cyberbullying can hurt, even if you're a famous gamer. So whether or not you've been on the receiving end of cyberbullying, we all know bullying isn't okay. So how can we stand up to online hate and help our peers? Let's dive in.
I'm going to turn the music off so you can hear me. That was an intro that was actually read by our founder and CEO, Laura Tierney. And it really is about taking what's happening out in the world and creating really relevant scenarios and situations for students to think about. So these are trending stories that inspire this lesson, starting with the Minecraft gamer, and then news articles that we know will capture the interest and capture what students are really experiencing and might find really relevant to them. And so everything from some of the latest research to LSU's gymnast and TikToker Libby Dunn and how she gets hate messages on TikTok. Okay, so then let's do this. Okay, so we've got some trivia here for you. How often do students nationwide report seeing cyberbullying? Okay, so then even famous gamers, TikTok stars, and big time athletes can get bullied online. Just like normal athletes and grown-ups, cyberbullying is when someone keeps being mean to someone else on the internet. And with screens everywhere, sometimes people say stuff without thinking about how it might hurt people's feelings. What percent of students report seeing cyberbullying? So if you want to go ahead, and you should have on your device, you should have these 4 options here for you to choose from and to lock in your vote. Okay, if your device went to sleep, if you just do a quick refresh, it should put you right back into the game right where we are. All right, I can see most of our team here has voted. Got a few more seconds here. Okay, for the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and move us on. Let's see how we voted as a class. Okay, the correct answer is 60%. And then we can see most people said 56%. And this is, we can not only see how our class voted, but we can see how other students around the world voted. So any student that has done this lesson, with their votes will actually be factored into this worldwide count. And we partner with schools in Canada, in the UK, in all across the US. And so that worldwide number is really growing. All right, so you can see students are really split. They're everything from 20% to 60%. Students, depending on their own experience, are seeing this differently. So it's an important topic for students to discuss, and why it may look different for some than others. Okay, we're gonna watch this video. It's incredibly powerful, from TikTok's biggest stars.
I do TikTok dances. I'm Dixie D'Amelio. I also do TikTok. I would describe Dixie as quite a goofball. She's a good person to have fun with. She can get bossy because she's my older sister. I think Charlie is a hardworking person. She never quit making videos, even with every hate comment she was getting. Some of the most hurtful comments that I read about myself online are, she's fatter than when we got her famous, or she's ugly, they don't like the way my face looks for some reason. A lot about my body shape, my body type, which hits close to home because I struggle a lot with body image. No one really knows that I'm still a 15-year-old teenager, girl especially. It hurts for everyone, no matter who you are. Getting hundreds of thousands of hate comments per week is a lot to handle. She doesn't get as many as yeah, not as many, but I've gotten, like, I posted a picture at the beach one time, and everyone was just talking about my weight. Everyone was like, I can see her ribs, that's disgusting, eat a burger and all this. And I'm like, I've also struggled trying to gain weight for a very long time. No matter what, they're gonna find something wrong. This isn't the first time that I've had to deal with something like this. Kids in my elementary school being mean to me online. Sophomore year was very hard. I would go to therapy every week and I wouldn't talk. It has gotten that bad to the point where I felt like I can't go on. As a teenager, it can be hard coming to your parents with everything because you always get nervous that they're gonna judge you, or you don't want to tell them just because you're stubborn and you're a teenager. But throughout the years, I've realized that holding it in causes a lot more damage than being able to tell someone you trust, whether that's family or a guidance counselor, whoever that may be. My family's my support system. I know that they all have my back no matter what. If I could give a couple tips for people struggling with bullying, pick up something new. I know my outlet was dance. It helped me get out all of the anger and sadness. Another thing is just respect yourself and know your body is your choice and your decision. Just be smart with where you're sharing things or who you're sharing things with, because you can't really trust anyone. If someone is hating a lot, maybe see if they're okay. Maybe the person who is letting out the most hate is the one who is hurting the most. You never know what someone's going through, and everyone's beautiful in their own way and unique, and that's what makes everyone so special. The more positivity and empathy you put out there, and the more smiles, is just, it does nothing but good. So I'd say the more of that, the better.
All right, so that was a video from Charlie and Dixie D'Amelio, and I could sit there and tell students oh, go talk to somebody, or just ignore them, or take up something new. And really, it comes very differently and is received very differently whenever an adult says it versus whenever there are relevant, relatable, and very current voices that students respect, like Charlie and Dixie D'Amelio. And so we actually, I think a pro tip for you is, if when you're talking about these topics with students, include the latest, what is happening in the here and now, to make it really relevant, instead of thinking of it as an adult lecturing, or doing a scare and restrict. Really, saying, we know that, TikTok can have so many great outlets. These girls actually had great success becoming TikTok stars, and through dance and on TikTok, and they are making a difference in a lot of different ways. So there are really positive ways to use social media and technology, and it's about helping students navigate what it is that they're experiencing. So these TikTok stars are just two of many people who have found a healthy way to overcome cyberbullying and online drama. Following every single video and polling question, we always have what we call huddle questions. So another pro tip is, have a way for you to open a dialogue with students where they're engaging more, and you're asking them open-ended questions that aren't leading, but really just about building culture, and getting them to open up and share more. So simply by like saying what resonated with you, about what they shared. And then, if what would you tell the Minecraft player Dream that we heard about earlier? If you were him, what would you do? And so this is a really important way that we word a lot of questions. If we ask students to think about, like, what advice would you give to someone else? That way, it's helping to put them into an idea generative state of, well, if I would tell somebody else this, then this is something that I could do myself. So it's helping them learn how to be problem solvers and proactive, and really generate strategies that they can use. So again, it's about not waiting until there's a cyberbullying incident. It's about thinking about things that have happened in the world, helping students think about strategies that they could use if and when that happens to them. Okay, so then we're going into our next sprint here. Take your pick. What can we do if we see others being bullied? Again, this is all about strengthening school culture and about cyber backing. Chances are most of us have either experienced some form of bullying or witnessed it happening to someone else, whether it was in online or in person. How often do you see other people's being bullied? Now, this is a really important question, because when students respond to it, this is indicative of what's happening within your school culture. So it's important to know that the results from these polling questions actually feed into that insights dashboard. So whenever students are responding to this, you're able to see, oh gosh, our students are saying that they're seeing instances of bullying happening weekly. Or maybe you say, wow, most of our students are saying they rarely or never experience it. And so maybe that's something you want to tout about your school, something that you can be really proud of, and examine more of why might this be part of your school culture. So if you want to go ahead and lock in your vote, I can see we've got some people have voted. I'm going to, for sake of time, going to go ahead and move us along. Okay, answers locked in. Let's take a look at not only how we see that this class we have a weekly is by far what we're experiencing. And I know as a former principal that it is time consuming and draining having to deal with instances of cyberbullying, or just being bullied, whether it's online or off. And it's that constant game of whack-a-mole, where you feel like, okay, I got this one handled, and then next week you're just dealing with another one. And so really it's about how do you help students build those strategies to get ahead of that. When we ask students the same question, the worldwide responses here, as you can see, everything from daily to I rarely or never experience or witness bullying. This is a wonderful opportunity for you to say, okay, compared to the worldwide, what is our school saying? What does it look like by class, by school, and then when we bring in those other voices. And then we also have not only TikTok stars and those really famous and relatable videos, but we also have videos from real everyday students who are offering tips and strategies for students to use. So if students are saying, I'm not even on TikTok, this Charlotte goes into an example of how just even over group text, some things could be misconstrued. And so I'm actually going to share with you a resource when we're done with this lesson, a takeaway that you can use right away in your classrooms to deal with exactly that issue. And so just even about how like tone and language can be misread in a text and to how to help that. Okay, we just heard about some signs that could mean someone is being bullied. If you think a friend or someone you know is experiencing this, what are some ways that you can offer support? Again, positive and putting them into an idea generative space while also really bringing attention to this topic and opening up a dialogue within the classroom. Okay, last polling question here. What advice do you have for navigating cyberbullying positively? Imagine that your friend realizes someone made an anonymous social media account about them and is posting embarrassing videos and with threatening captions. You tell your friend to ignore it, but it's really impacting them. What would you do? Which of these moves are you likely to make first? Again, really intentional with this questioning. It's not saying, stop it in a lecture. It is, okay, we're actually equipping you with 4 different options, 4 different strategies for you to try. You can actually try any one of these. But this is about giving you some ways that you can handle these types of instances when you're in the moment. I see that y'all are slower to respond to this one, which means you're being really thoughtful and really thinking about what option you would choose. And that's really wonderful. So if students need more time, you see that we have a timer, but if students need more time, you can always pause it and give more time for your class and for people to weigh in. And so we're going to talk a little bit here in just a minute about this first strategy of tell your friend to screenshot, block, and report. But then let's see, I'm going to go ahead and move us along for sake of time. Let's see how our class voted. Okay, encourage them to talk to a friend, with a trusted adult, family, teacher, coach, or counselor. Okay, time to throw back into the chat here. What do you think is the top answer whenever I'm going to click on the worldwide button? Is it 1, 2, 3, or 4? What do you think is going to be the top answer when we ask students to weigh in? 1, 2, 3, or 4? What one will come up first? Okay, I'm seeing some 4s. Okay. All right. Lots of fans of the anti-bullying helpline. And helplines, actually, they're growing in popularity thanks to TikTok and social media. There are actual students are becoming more aware of resources that are out there for them to use. And so I actually, one time whenever I was doing this presentation, somebody said, no kid would ever use a helpline. I'm like, actually, yes, it is becoming more and more popular, and students are asking for more direct support. And that is largely thanks to positive efforts through that they're learning about these resources through social media. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at this worldwide vote. Number 1 was the top answer whenever we asked students that they would tell their friend to screenshot, block, and report the anonymous account. Followed by encourage them to talk to a teacher, friend, or trusted adult. And now that we've actually saw, whenever we first did this, I saw this at 3%, it's growing to 8%. And now this gives an opportunity if somebody in your class did say, I would suggest this one, you could say, okay, what which ones do we know are out there? How can we find resources like that? So a great thing for you to know about. And then a couple of final thought-provoking huddle questions to engage your students even more. Again, it's not about the teacher having to be the expert and be at the center of the room. This really is about actually flipping that and putting students at the center of the conversation, asking them what they think, what they feel, and what they would do in these different situations. And then what do you think people who feel happy, strong, capable, and appreciated are likely to hate on others? Why or why not? And so this is really helping to build empathy for other people, that if somebody is hating on someone, it is likely that they're needing something in return. And so and that they maybe need some support, and linking back to that idea that we heard in the video. All right, thank you so much for playing along with me on that. And I've got a few final resources and tips for to share with you. So I'm going to pull my slide deck back up, because as promised, I've got the a activity that you can do with your students right away. And so I'm going to give you the QR code for that, and you will not want to miss it, because it's a wonderful way to engage with your students. Okay, so couple of quick tips that we want to give you. Tip number one is that it is really important for students to flex their empathy whenever it comes to cyberbullying. That we can all actually do things sometimes that may seem unkind, or maybe not quite as sensitive, and sometimes we may hurt other people's feelings without realizing we're doing it. And so helping people to build their empathy, and also to say, hey, how might this be impacting other people? This is a quick video. Arlen, I don't think I have time for the whole thing. I'm going to start to play it, but I'll include it in the follow-up. And it's Sarah Spain with ESPN talking about how she actually handles reading some of the negative comments versus hearing them face to face.
About social media, but is hard to actually experience, is the difference between the written word and what it feels like to read it versus looking someone in the face as they say it, even if that's not the person who wrote it.
Oh, okay, that was a shorter one. And so, yeah, it's about helping them to see, what does that look like face to face with other people? And whenever I am writing something, if I'm not willing to say that face to face, then why would I make one choice over the other? And so then tip number two that we encourage students to do is encourage them and celebrate the many positive moves that your friends make online and off every day. One thing that social media can absolutely do is it can lift other people up. And so, we see it all the time with students saying, really congratulating their friends on recent accomplishments, encouraging them to go for something, or wishing them luck ahead of a big thing that they have, or even just sharing a kind thought, or just like how much, I see all the time them celebrating their friends' birthdays by posting how lucky they are to have them as a friend. That's very common for some students to do, and so a great way for them to lift each other up and really encourage more of that, and really looking at what are some things you're seeing students do every day, and how do we lean into that instead of focusing on the negatives. One thing that we do talk to students about, and this is straight from one of our fourth grade lessons as well, is the Great Kindness Challenge. And so we actually have a way for schools to participate in this Great Kindness Challenge. It's in our fourth grade lesson, but schools do this at all grade levels, and it really challenges students every day to think about different kind moves that they can make individually and as a school community. And so this is something I would absolutely recommend that you do. Okay, a tip number three, before I hand you a couple of resources, is going back to one of the strategies that was in the lesson, helping students stop, screenshot, block, and then we're adding talk. So stop, screenshot, block, talk. So if you were to walk away and say, I've got a strategy for you. If you see something online that is mean, really classifies what you would call bullying. Stop, screenshot, block, and talk. So stop engaging with that person, capture what has happened, block the user or the person, and then talk to somebody that you trust. It's the only way to get ahead of it. It's the only way to stop it, is to have strategies that you know what to do when you're in that moment. Students are going to come across things that make them uncomfortable, that make them feel is really hate directed towards them. Everything from, as we saw from um, popular gamers and TikTok stars, to everyday students who are just seeing this among classmates and among people that they don't know. Stop, screenshot, block, talk. So this 4-step strategy is something we encourage students to do. All right, so what are some free resources that you can have and walk away with right now? Well, first of all, I want to show you how you can look at how you can address cyber backing. Again, not just talking about cyberbullying, but what to do as positive and proactive strategies, how you can do this at a developmental approach and growing incrementally with students, because we know that what a 4th grader needs is very different than what an 8th grader needs, and it's very different than what a 12th grader needs. And so how does this topic and cyberbullying grow with students over time, and cyber backing grow with them? So it's everything from diffusing gossip and rumors, using celebrities' latest strategies, and shattering stereotypes at our school by getting to know each other, and looking at gratitude. So really leaning into not just, again, what is negative out there, but analyzing how the latest tech and TikTok trends fuel gratitude. Again, shining a spotlight on things like what are some ways that students are using TikTok to not only fuel gratitude, but also support their overall well-being, and have some resources and build a connection and community that they feel is supportive of them and their goals. And then respecting others' boundaries and having other people respect yours. As students are getting older, we start diving more into things like boundaries and understanding what feels out of bounds and in bounds, and what feels okay to share and not okay to share. We work with counselors and with tech professionals. We have a research advisory council that, and again, students, of course, that help us to really understand how to lean into these topics in a way that is developmentally appropriate and that is really relevant for students. So, and thinking about things like cancel culture. Cancel culture is big. It's whenever, somebody jumps in, somebody does something wrong and people just jump on them, and they feel like, and that the person who did something wrong kind of feels like they have no one to turn to, and they are left alone. And so what can people do to help support the person who made the mistake and did something wrong? And so there's a lot of different ways to talk about these topics in a positive and a proactive way, but also addressing what is really causing your schools and your team to play a lot of whack-a-mole. Get ahead of it. Don't wait for something to happen. Do something, help them in the moment. Okay, got a couple of free things for you to take away today. This is the Cyberback Challenge. This is where you can have students practice how to respond to texts, and kind of role play and design some of their own. What would I say? What strategies would I use? How could I respond to this? Some different scenario. We pose different scenarios, and we encourage students to generate responses and to think about that. So this is a downloadable. So feel free to go ahead and scan this QR code so that you can access this Cyberback Challenge. And Arlen, I'm going to include the links to these in my follow-up email to you so that you can share them out following. All right, and then I've got another resource here. I want to make sure I give everyone time to scan that. The Huddle. This one is super important. If you don't get our newsletter, The Huddle, please scan it, because we are and register for it, because we send to your inbox every Saturday. We send latest tips and trends any latest news and our take on it. And then we give you practical strategies and resources to use directly with your students. It is like keeping you, it's like having your sort of what's trending with social media and tech and student social worlds. It's like having your own personal assistant delivered right to your inbox. So we keep you up to date. Register for the huddle. You'll get all kinds of amazing resources on a weekly basis. Um, thank you so much, Savannah. Okay, and then I also want to encourage you to register or follow us on all the different social media accounts. There's a really we post all kinds of really great content. In fact, our blog is amazing. You should follow. You should read our blog post. We post about three each week. Again, taking a deeper dive into some of those trends. The huddle will lead you to that as well. Thank you for Savannah for posting the link to that blog post. But I mean, to our blog, definitely follow that. Bookmark it, make it something that you visit. You are going to learn so much, and you're going to have so much on your and feel so informed. You have so much new information to share with your team, and so that you could really be at the forefront of this. Thank you so much, Timothy, for signing up for the huddle. We are so glad that you did. Get ready. You are about to really experience some incredible news coming your way, because we will, like I said, not only give you information on latest tips and tricks, but also keep you up to date on trends, legislation, things like that. And then we want to know what issues are impacting your school community. So you remember those challenges that I showed you at the very beginning, where I said, go ahead and give us let us know what's impacting your school. Tell us here, if you scan this QR code, we want to know what is most top of mind for school leaders, what is most impacting students. We are again, a student first company is our number one core value. It is what drives what we do every day. It's the top of our mission. And so we want to make sure that we are getting the kinds of resources that school leaders need. So definitely do this post session survey. It's going to ask you some questions about what's impacting your school. It's going to ask you also your name and your role, so that we can see who is interested in these topics. It helps us, and helps us create more content, so that people like Arlen can bring more information to you and help support you. And then it's going to ask if you want to be contacted by somebody from our team. And so if that lesson was something you're like, oh my gosh, my students would really, really love this, let us know. We would love to put you in touch with somebody who can help make that happen, and help form a partnership with you. So do we have the link for the survey? Let's see, Savannah, if you're here and you can drop that link, that would be amazing. And so thank you so much. Yep, Savannah she's on it. Thank you so much again for joining us today. And we have a webinar coming up on February 22nd with Israel Balderas, who is going to be going over legal issues with students in social media. So it's a really cool thing to know about with that as well, if legal issues are something that you and your school community are thinking about. So we can certainly include a link to that too. Arlen, it's always fun with this group.
We had a terrific group today, Andrea. Thank you so much.
Really did.
Love all the tips, all the strategies. Thank you for the resources here at the end for all of our people. As we said, Andrea will send me links to all this stuff that I can put it in the email tomorrow with the recording.
Yep.
So that's terrific. And yes, what a great group. So engaged in the chat and at the Win It Social website as well. That was a really cool tool. It was neat to see all those responses coming in.
Yeah, for sure. And we have amazing resources on our website. Definitely want y'all to go back and look at more, because, again, as a former educator, I know what it's like to be in your shoes whenever I had those students come to me and they're like, Mrs. Jenkins, this happened and on house party. And I was like, I don't even know what house party is. And so even just thinking about, like, what could I do to help these sweet students that were looking for more support from me, and how to help guide them. it's really great to have resources that help you feel really empowered and equipped.
Absolutely. That's what we're all about here. And yeah, appreciate you coming on and
All right.
delivering this presentation. Thank you, Savannah, for the link to the survey there at the end. We've got a couple minutes left before 4 o'clock. So if anybody has any questions for Andrea,
Yeah.
now would be the time to raise your hand or just pop them into chat. And we'll make sure to get those addressed before we all log out here this afternoon.
Yeah. Thank you, Derek. Thank you, Tamisha. Great.
Yes,
Thanks,
tons of
Michelle, and Matt.
information. Love the resources.
Yeah.
Always get great stuff with the Social Institute.
Yeah, gosh, this is, we are certainly passionate about this work and supporting students and supporting educators like you. Okay, great, Timothy, thank you. How do you discern between screen time versus social media time? Such a great question. And man, I wish I had my screen time pyramid slide because it is powerful to look at. So I'm going to try to describe it as best I can and just say that think about screen time in the context of a pyramid, like a food pyramid, if you will. And we know that, if we have junk food at the top of the pyramid and we have, other healthy foods at the bottom, not all screen time, not all food is created the same. And therefore, it's similar approach of not all screen time is created the same too. So what I would do is have them think about what is happening on that screen time. Is it passive viewing? We want that to be at the top of the pyramid, right? Is it content creation? So if my example is if they are scrolling through TikTok and just doing the mindless scrolling, that's passive viewing, right? We want that to be the least amount. If they are creating something for TikTok, then that's content creation. That's actually them being creative. They're designing, they're creating, they're connecting with others. That is totally different. So we want that part to be a bit bigger. Okay, are they creating something for TikTok with a friend? That is active socializing. So if they are actually being social, maybe they are designing a cool, my son actually used to do hockey trick shot videos. And so he and his friends would sit there for hours creating videos and editing videos, practicing different hockey trick shots and posting them to YouTube. And he now has an internship in college where he is doing video editing for a hockey association. So those types of things, actually, when you're thinking about screen time, that is very different than just being on YouTube watching hockey trick shots versus actually going in and creating your own and doing that with friends. And then if you're sharing that with others, that's the base part of that pyramid of using that as a way to connect with others and have shared experiences. So we have a really slick screen time pyramid, but think about it in that way. I hope my description really was helpful for you, Timothy. Thank you for the great question.
Yeah, Savannah popped that link in the chat so everybody can see the pyramid in the
Great. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Savannah. It's great having you on here with that.
Did you see the question from Jordan?
I did not. Okay, for school time, anonymous accounts, that really is getting students that final tip that I talked about with when you see something, the stop, block, screenshot, block, and report. The best tip is empowering students to speak up and build those relationships. So we know that Instagram is working now Meta's working now to put some different safeguards in place on that, and having people, if they are creating new accounts, that they're all linked back to a kind of home account. Not sure exactly how that's going to working out. It's something that they've just recently talked about doing, but they are starting to crack down on that. So that is something that, as we find more information on advancements in that area, we will be including that into the huddle. So take a look at the huddle. We will include any resources that we have that would help you deal with Finstas and anonymous accounts. We know that they are a real issue, but that is where empowering your students to speak up and develop those relationships is really, really critical. And opening the space for that before it happens is what really makes a difference, of already having that as part of your school culture.
Wonderful. Looks like Jordan got signed up for the huddle as well. So that's great. Thank you, Jordan, for letting us know that.
Yes, yes, excellent. That's great. You're going to get lots of great resources in that through the huddle. Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone, for being such a great crew today. I really enjoyed my time with you, Arlen. Fun as always.
Yes, thank you so much, Andrea. Really appreciate you and the Social Institute for making time for us here at Ed Leaders. This has been great, and thanks to all of our participants. Thanks for hanging in there, a little extra time too. Appreciate that. I'm going to stop the recording now so we get a clean take.